Hey there, it's Angela Ardolino with It's a Dog's Life, and I am joined today by two awesome people that I met, let's see, in 2019 Super Zoo at the Crazy Cat Ladies party. And I mean, everybody that I met there, I fell in love with. And it's funny because that's the first time that I met Rodney Habib, which I don't know if that's the first time you guys met was at Super Zoo,
Yes,
wasn't it?
yeah.
So we didn't meet until at that party. So what's really funny is that I only got to meet like 2 or 3 people and get to talk to them because Rodney and I disappeared into the shadows to talk cannabis. So I'm glad that we got to see each other again and then again, which is awesome because we've realized in this little holistic family that we go to the same places and find places where we can all meet up again and talk and meet. So thank you for joining me. And I haven't told our audience who I'm talking to, but I'm talking to Larry and Charlie of RawStruck. And thank you so much for joining us. I don't even know, what time is it there?
It's only almost 7 p.m., so it's not that bad.
Oh, good. Not that bad. Awesome. I was like, oh, yeah, I need to keep that in mind. We have trouble doing the time right here in the United States, much less all over the world. So I want you to tell my audience members a little bit about who you are and why you started RawStruck. What is RawStruck?
So RawStruck is pretty much a awareness platform where we share knowledge that we gather from pet health professionals from all over the world. We go to all these expos and meet as many people as we can because there's just so many awesome holistic and natural pet health advocates out there, be it veterinarians or just pet health professionals that have pet brands, or we meet the most awesome people on these events. So we try to go to as many as possible and just like take videos along the way. And it all started pretty much with our R&DS trip in 2018, where we kind of just went and wanted to document our travel from Dubai to Chicago. And we were just like so shocked. It was Pet Cancer Awareness Month back then. So we were like, okay, let's just ask a couple of people a couple of questions about pet cancer and, you know, the fact that 1 in 2 cancers are being diagnosed with 1 in 2 dogs are being diagnosed with cancer. And we were just so overwhelmed with all this amazing information that we got. So we just had to put it all in a video, and it ended up being like a 45-minute documentary.
Yeah.
So that's how it really started. And from there we just, we just kept on going. And of course, way back then, around 3 years ago or 4 years ago now, it started when our dog actually had stomach upset and after a long time of
a lot of digestive issues and stuff like that. And we were advised to feed a raw diet to our dog. And at first we were very hesitant.
Who advised it?
A friend
of ours.
Okay. I was like, go vet?
No. But at the same time, I had a vet friend who kept on saying, no, don't do it. So that's why it took us so long to actually switch. But in the end, it was the only thing that helped our dog with her stomach upset. And then when we realized, like, all of a sudden, most of all her problems were gone, we were like, we have to tell the world.
We're like, no. What is this? And why are the health professionals advising against this? You know, like that was the most like mind-boggling thing, because we're like, why are they saying don't do this? But like, and other people are saying this helps, this works. And that's what led us on our research. And
so what did you find? Why did you find that they don't want you to share this information or talk about this?
That's really tricky, honestly. It's
well, I think,
in your professional opinion, as you're one that has done, because what is so interesting and why I, of course, am totally feed my dogs all raw. what's so interesting about this is how much the raw movement is like the cannabis and CBD movement, where it's, everybody's been told to feed this kibble, and everybody has been told to be scared of raw. So it's really funny how it's the same type of thing, how it's being kept from us. Now, I know why CBD and cannabis is being kept from us, but, and I can pretty much figure out that it's the same thing that's happening on the raw movement. But what's interesting is that you're in Dubai. So what happens in your side of the world? So you have all this information. Can you even get raw, or is it you're feeding them raw yourself, meaning you're going to the market, buying it, and creating it yourself?
Well, fortunately enough, there is a raw food company here. Which, when we first started to raw, we actually did go with a pre-made because we didn't
know anything
that much about, obviously. So it was just easier. But the more we learned, the more we just started making our own, and then now we make our own recipes. We have our crazy meal prep days once a month, do Facebook Lives, and have fun. But I don't know. I mean, why isn't it being advised by doctors or by health professionals? I think it's because it's the same in human health. Almost the same. Your doctor wouldn't really give you advice on how to feed yourself necessarily. So we have human nutritionists for that, and it's the same in pet health, I think. So actually, when we went to Super Zoo last year, we haven't worked on that video yet because we're just so backlogged. But we actually made a video where we asked a bunch of professionals and people in our field. We asked them how to respectfully open a conversation with your vet about raw feeding, basically how to speak raw to your vet. And it was really interesting what people were saying. But at the same time, they were kind of all saying the same thing, which was essentially, the things that vets most of the time are their worries is, first of all, that we're not balancing the food right, that the nutrition, that our dogs might not get all the nutrition that they need from the food that we make ourselves, and bacteria, like salmonella. So if we come from a really respectful way from the pet parents, and we're like, look, I really understand where you're coming from. I understand your point of view, and I understand that under some circumstances you might be worried. But I really did my research, and I wash my hands all the time before and after meal prepping, and I also make sure that I have balanced recipes from...
So you're saying they're worried about the bacteria for the human?
Yes.
So how do we explain that when you go buy raw food from the market to cook for yourself? How is that any different?
Exactly. So, I think vets are not only scared about the human and the pathogens, but also the dogs and the pathogens. But our dogs have been found to successfully pass salmonella, no matter if they're raw fed or kibble fed. And there's a lot of salmonella in kibble as well. So, but you're right. We make raw meat for ourselves in our kitchen, and nobody's freaking out. So
So it's these things to scare the public, I feel, and that's the other similarity to CBD and cannabis, is that both vets and doctors are not taught about diet and nutrition. So they don't know anything about it unless they've gone out and trained themselves and learned themselves. Otherwise, most of the time, they're not going to know anything about it. And the same thing about cannabis and the endocannabinoid system. They're not trained anything about that. So they're either going to say, I don't know anything about that, or they're going to advise against because they're basing it out of fear of the unknown.
Exactly.
And what I find is that a lot of them, I just was at a vet office what's today? 2 days ago doing a training, and I saw Science Diet sitting on the shelves, and there wasn't very much of it, but I was like, you need to get rid of this. And she's like, I know. It was left over from the last vet. They had bought the practice. And I said, why don't you carry raw? And she's like, we can. So I think that'll be the next movement, that they get educated, that, Hills Science, enough people will sue Hills Science Diet and Royal Canin for killing their dogs and using disgusting, and that they're not science diets. Enough people will find out, enough of us will speak out and tell them otherwise, that they'll have no choice. And then people will have to change. I find that a lot of people come in with a dog, probably like your dog. What kind of dog? All right, we're back, and I want to meet your baby dog that started this whole obsession. If you can get her.
She seriously changed our life. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing, because it's amazing when you think that's how I felt about CBD, is when I discovered it and I saw its power, and not only did it work on me, but I was just watching kids' seizures stop, and I just was like, how is this being kept from us? I need to tell everybody I know. And I've been doing that ever since. There you are. Hi, Frenchie. Hi, Mama. So how old is she? Where'd you get her?
She's 4 years old, and we had her in Germany. We used to live in Germany. So when we moved to Dubai, she came with us. She was just 6 months old, I think, back then.
Oh, world traveler. And what symptoms did you start to see with her when she started having the stomach upset?
Yeah, honestly, she didn't really have many symptoms. The only thing that we noticed is that she kept throwing up, and she was like continuously throwing up, like
3 times a week or something.
Yeah. And at one time it was like every night.
Yeah. And we went to the vet like 2 times for it, and he was like, oh, you're feeding a great food, there's nothing wrong. They did x-rays and everything, and they did a blood test, said everything's fine and she's in perfect health and you're feeding great food. So and at that point, I think after the second time we went to the vet, we were like, okay, like she's obviously not fine.
And after spending a lot of money as well.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about, projects that you never get around to. That's one of my projects, is to prove that, because when people come I have a grooming, boarding shop, daycare, and a little bit of retail. So when people come in and we sell raw food, and when people come in and they're like, it's too expensive, I'm like, okay, but the cost that you save, both on doing CBD for getting rid of inflammation in a raw diet, you pretty much, in a good prebiotic, man, you are good. You don't go to the vet anymore. I just was realizing, I'm like, I don't even know when's the last time I went to the vet. And I've got 7 dogs, and I've had no issues or problems, because they're all being treated with, their food is their medicine. Exactly. So I think it's an important message to get out there, that the money that you may spend on food and on, 2 supplements is going to keep you out of the vet's office. Go once a year. Go once a year for your annual checkup, and if you need to even do that. It's funny.
Math on this. Yeah.
Oh, good.
For us, it's we save exactly the amount of money that we need to feed her a year. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
I would I know you have a YouTube channel. Did you cover that?
Yes. Yeah, we covered it a little bit. We're planning on doing another video on that, just talking about how much money we're saving on feeding.
I would love that. Yeah. It really needs to be done, because people just don't understand that if the kibble is convenient and cheap, but you're going to pay for it down the road. It causes problems slowly and kills them slowly. So it's so important. And on the cannabis side of the world, when we recommend, when people's dog, like, let's say you guys came to us and said, hey, this is what's going on, can you help us? We'd be like, yes. However, you need to change what you're feeding her. So it is part of our regimen. It's what we tell everybody all the time. And the gut can heal. If you've got that healthy gut, then you've got their their immune system, which lives there, and you're supporting everything. And you don't have to give them any medications or prescriptions to keep them from getting itchy or barfing or having diarrhea or those types of things.
Yeah,
so,
like, before we switched her to raw, actually, another thing that happened with her a lot was she got papilloma, and she got a lot of hot spots all the time. So it was a couple of things that we've never had problems again since she switched.
And by the way, her breathing got so much better.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
That was one of the first things that we noticed about the change when we switched.
That's important. That's an important message.
Yeah, right. And that happened in the summertime, so we were so happy with it. And that's what really led us to doing research on what is the difference between feeding raw and feeding dry food.
Yep.
So how did you learn to make your own food?
We took the DNM course, the raw specialist course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we got the animal diet formulator, and we just went ahead and did our own food. Yeah, we did.
So what are some of your favorites to make, and what are her favorites?
She eats anything.
Yeah, Milka loves literally anything.
She says no to nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, that's good. That makes it easy.
Yeah.
But what do we say? It's really about us. Yeah. What do I like to feed Milka, or we like to feed Milka? Right now, what is she having? Today she's having rabbit.
Yeah.
But when we make our own food, we like to add spices.
Yeah.
Just because
Arabic spices. We just actually made a recipe with Rodney and Karen Becker.
Yep.
The Arabic dog food recipe, the first one ever created.
Awesome.
Yeah, because we love to use like spices like cinnamon and cumin and stuff like that in our food, and we noticed that not many other people do it.
Right.
I'm not sure why, but we all have these spices, and
I think it's because it's been, hammered into our heads that they can't eat the same things that we eat, which is it goes that way across the board on everything, and it's really funny because they're so like us. Yeah. Your baby had problems at a young age, but most dogs, when they start hitting 8, 9 years old, is when all the problems start happening, especially the ones that are related to a kibble diet. Yeah. All of it comes up. And the first things that people always say to me is, I've been feeding the same thing for 9 years. Why all of a sudden would it be the food? And then I go, well, how old are you? And I don't know about you, but when you hit your 40s, things need to change. Yeah. You suddenly can't drink the red wine anymore, or you can't tolerate dairy. And it's the same type of thing. It's your body going, yeah, I can't do those things anymore. No more sugar, no more gluten, or something's going to happen. A disease is going to start, or inflammation is going to start. So I find it really interesting that the industry has told us that they cannot have human food when that's exactly what they need is human food.
It's just food.
Right. It's just food. Food is food. And what's really funny is that I don't even eat meat, but my dogs do. Right. So it's really funny to, handle it and, give them stuff and things like that. But I know that's what they need. And I've watched them. I have been able to heal everything with diet and CBD. I mean, it really is amazing to get rid of. So what do you guys see in your future? Are we going to get a cookbook? I know that we can subscribe to your YouTube channel where you have great, videos on some of your favorite meals and recipes, but what do you guys see the future? What are you going to do? Because I know do you both have full-time jobs?
Pretty much. So
this is like kind of a hobby project, passion project.
Well, we definitely love to do this full time, and we're working towards that somehow.
Oh, good.
I mean, making more videos, making more recipes to share with people, because that's always the number one questions that we get asked is about recipes. I think a lot of, like, there is a lot of recipes online, but you already have to be kind of like in this in this space,
right?
to
You
find
make it
them.
easy.
So yeah, we really want to make it easier for people, like to just also to understand everything. Like raw feeding can be so easy. You just really need to have that one recipe, or that, you know, like have a new recipe every month, and then that's it.
Like we really want to, sorry, what were you going to say?
Then you package it or freeze it or whatever to make it through the whole month?
Yeah, we usually make one recipe a month, and then we package and freeze it. And then we usually do our next meal prep before the last batch is over. So we would have like a week or maybe 10 days worth of food left. And then we do another meal prep, so that, you know, if we do this a couple of times, we always have a variety of recipes in our freezer. So because we always make a new batch before the old batch ends. So then we always have enough variety. We think that variety is very important.
It is.
Our dogs,
What have you found in research about variety?
I mean, I'm not quite sure how you mean that question, but I personally believe that variety comes in a lot of different ways. You can have variety in not only ingredients and flavors, you can also have variety in the way that you serve the food. Like you serve it on a platter. Some dogs like it better on the platter. Some dogs, you know, like sometimes when you feed in different places of the apartment, of the apartment, that's also gonna be good for the dog's mental stimulation. Then of course, like variety in the way you process the food. So do you cook the vegetables? Do you give them raw? Do you ferment the vegetables?
Do you grind it, or do you feed it whole?
Yeah,
you know, so all of these things actually matter. Yeah.
Okay, great. We're going to take another short break, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about it, because I am going to commit to making one of your recipes for my dogs. I'll do it over the weekend, and then of course I'll have to share it, because I've done it a couple times. But yeah, it's a lot of, you know what I want to know? Well, let's take a break and we'll talk about it when we get back. All right, and we're back. This is what I would love to talk about. So we're talking about cooking for dogs, making our own dogs' meals with RawStruck, with Charlie and Larry. And so I live in Florida, and I don't use any chemicals or anything, and we have a flea outbreak right now. I'm on the end of mine, but like I said, I own the shop nonstop, dogs and cats coming in with fleas. And I remember talking to, I think it was talking to Dr. D. Blanco, about what do you do? And she said, well, if you're feeding them right, they're not even going to be hot and not even attract fleas and ticks. And I was like, whoa, again, diet to the rescue. So have you experienced that? Do you have a flea and tick diet? Because I know, I'll let you start it in a minute. I know that eating garlic and the oils coming out of their body, skin, and onto the hair follicles makes it that they don't like it. But actually, food that keeps them cool and not attracted to flea and ticks. Okay, go. Tell me everything you know.
So to be honest, I personally don't freak out about it at all. Every single dog is different. So you're like somebody who might be listening, your dog might be completely different, but we have ever only had tick problems with Milka before we switched to raw. And ever since we switched to raw, I have come to understand that, just like Dr. D. Blanco said, healthy dogs, vibrant dogs, thriving dogs do not attract parasites. Parasites seem to settle in the dogs that are unhealthy hosts. And I remember one time that I went to the desert with Milka and she got a tick. And for me, that was a sign that her immune system was down, and I had to do something to add to her diet, a supplement or something, to just power her immune system up again. And I did not freak out. I did not. I mean, maybe somebody might completely disagree with me, but that's my take on it. Like with my individual dog, we do not have a problem.
It's so crazy because we can go on and on about this, but yeah, like.
Well, because I have I have an entire farm and raccoons and possums.
Wow.
My chickens,
you have them all out there.
And it's a swamp and it's hot. So what I've noticed is that they don't stay on my dogs. They bite my dogs, but they don't stay on my dogs anymore. So when I treat, and I only treat with diatomaceous earth and essential oils, so I can always get a hold of it if I notice it in time and then do the baths and do the 4-month cycle or whatever. But I have other people's dogs coming in, so it's a non-stop cycle of getting rid of them. But it's funny, I never see the fleas on my dogs, but I see them itching, so I know they've been bitten by a flea. And ticks are non-existent, probably because of my ducks and chickens are everywhere. But we don't have that big of a problem. Okay, tell our listeners where we can follow you guys and see your recipes and keep in touch, because I know this is just the beginning and I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do next. And we want to tell everybody next. I know I'm looking for a recipe, a nice book from you, a cookbook from you guys at some point would be awesome. But tell everybody about it.
So you can find us on Facebook and YouTube on RawStruck, and on Instagram we're at rawstruck.fam, and we make videos to share with your families to show them how awesome and how fun raw feeding is.
Awesome. And then please tell us about the economics of it, because I know that's a big thing people are worried about. I would love to see that from you guys. Thank you so much for joining me from Dubai. It was awesome seeing you guys again. Hopefully we'll see you soon. I don't know when, since the events are being canceled left and right now, but hopefully soon.
We were so excited. You know what? Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
I said this to you personally already, but I want to thank you again, because from the last in Chicago, you gave me this CBD dog health cream, and that was the only thing that helped for Milka's ear. Like we used so many salves before, because she had like a dry spot in her ear, and that was the only thing.
Awesome. Can we use that as a testimonial for us?
Yeah, definitely.
And
Hernando's going to be so happy that I did that. I know, and I know we talked about what the laws were over there in Dubai, and one day we'll get to it, but I'm still fighting the fight every day here, just in the United States, and it's exhausting.
We're so lucky that you are fighting this
fight. Thank you, and we're so lucky to have you guys. Thank you for sharing everything that you know.
Yeah, thank you
guys.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.